All right, today is tax day. But the single biggest issue in front of us is not the Buffett tax, it's Taxmageddon. What does it mean? A $5.3 trillion tax hike comes January 1st, 2013. And if Congress doesn't extend all those tax cuts, I'll tell you, the economy will be destroyed. Let's talk to CNBC contributor Howard Dean. He's former Vermont governor and DNC chair. And we welcome back Kevin Hassett, American Enterprise Institute Director of Economic Policy Studies. He's also a Mitt Romney advisor. Kevin Hassett, I think the Buffett tax is just goofy and it's dead. But this one, with all these tax cuts expiring, that includes, by the way, not just the Bush tax cuts, all of them. The AMT expires, the payroll tax cut expires. Kevin, it seems to me Congress should be focusing laser-like on this right now to assure people and remove the uncertainty.
Yeah, that's right, but they're not going to do that. They can't even give us a budget. You know, I need to make 3 points about Taxmageddon. The first is that it's 100% President Obama's fault, because it was just 2 years ago when the Democrats, after running against the Bush tax cuts, decided that they had to extend them for a couple of years, and then they did, but now they're expiring. They could have extended them for a lot longer. The second thing is that Taxmageddon, the uncertainty over Taxmageddon, is likely to be a big negative in the second half of the year. You know, there's a new study out of the University of Chicago that finds that last year we lost maybe about 1.5% of growth because of all of the tax policy uncertainty. It's going to be worse this year. And the final point about Taxmageddon is that it's a great opportunity to do something right, because all these things are expiring. Then we could go in there and have a fundamental reform like Governor Romney has proposed. It's time to fix our big problems and stop ignoring them.
You know, Howard Dean, you probably don't agree, but since President Obama signed off on extending all the Bush tax cuts almost 2 years ago, he owns the issue now. So when Kevin Hassett lays it out that we should be dealing right now, I think we should have an extension of these tax cuts, unless and until we can have some reform, Howard. You own this issue. Howard, you own it. President owns it. And if the economy tanks in the second half, it's going to wreck his reelection.
Well, Kevin wasn't factual about that. In fact, the Republicans demanded that we extend the Bush tax cuts for the upper income groups in exchange for extending unemployment benefits for a whole lot of people that didn't have jobs. The fact of the matter is, I believe the biggest threat to this country in the long run is the deficit. And however we have to address the deficit, we ought to do it. And it's been kicked down the road by both parties. For all I can tell, we ought to let those tax cuts go by the boards, and we ought to let those spending cuts go into effect. I don't think either party in the Congress has the guts to do the right thing. And if they're not going to do the right thing, we need to deal with the deficit. We need to deal with the deficit.
I understand. I definitely want to deal with the deficit. I just
no,
want to know.
No, you don't. You have not, Larry. No, you want to cut taxes some more and create a larger deficit.
Well,
that's what the Republican position is.
What I want to do is slash spending, which is something you never talk about.
I agree with that.
But I just want to say to you,
we are slashing spending. That's happening too at the end of the year. Are you dealing with Kevin
Hassett's point that you got $5 trillion of expiring tax cuts? And what is that going to do? You know, the whole economy is what, 15 trillion now, 16 trillion coming up?
No, that's nonsense. The $5 trillion is over a 10-year period.
Right,
Let's get this right.
I understand, but the tax rates, Kevin Hassett, correct me if I'm wrong, the tax rates will change. All the rates, up and down the income, not just rich people. They will all go up,
including dividends. They're all expiring. And, you know, that's not factually incorrect to attribute it to President Obama. They had a supermajority in the Senate. They had a whole year to deal with it. They put it off to the end, and because Scott Brown was elected, it was harder for them. But if they really wanted the Bush tax cuts to expire, which Obama promised every minute of every day during the campaign he would do, then they could have done it earlier in the year. And so they own this issue.
Yeah, well, the American people will decide who owns the issue and whether they want Mitt Romney in charge with the kind of fiscal policy that caused these deficits in the first place. Look, I'm more of a deficit hawk, I think, than either one of you. I don't believe in this nonsense that comes out of the University of Chicago in supply-side economics. It's never been proved to work. In fact, the largest deficits in the last 3 presidencies has been caused by both Bushes and Ronald Reagan, because they kept cutting taxes and increasing the deficit without cutting spending. If you want to cut taxes, then you got to cut spending to match the tax cuts, and nobody has done that on the Republican side.
Kevin Hassett, does anybody think about the spending increases of recent years, Kevin?
Oh, I mean, absolutely. The spending increases in recent years have been astonishing. And I think that the governor is right, though, that, you know, Larry, you and I on your show many times, I guess we're starting to be old men, criticized President Bush for increasing spending too much. It's absolutely correct that if you want to have low taxes, then you got to have small government. And President Bush increased it, and President Obama has increased it a heck of a lot more. It's absolutely true that we need a big fiscal consolidation. We need to get our budget in order, but we don't need to do it by having this big contractionary tax tax increase at the end of the year. And Taxmageddon is coming because President Obama wanted it to come.
Howard Dean, I want to get spending down to where Bill Clinton left it. It was about 18% of GDP. Right now it's closing in on 25%.
I think we ought to get spending down to where Bill Clinton had it and put taxes back up to where Bill Clinton had it. And then we'd have a balanced budget and a big surplus just like Bill Clinton did. The only president since Lyndon Johnson to balance the budget. Only Democrats balance budgets. You know that?
Kevin Hassett, last word. Are they going to fix this tax hike before the whole thing dooms the economy? Real quick.
No, they're going to put it off, and probably in December they'll extend it for 3 months or something.
Howard Dean, Kevin Hassett, thank you very much. That's it for tonight's show. Thanks for watching Taxmageddon. Please, Washington, you've got to do something right away.